welcome back to One on One with Mr. U. Of course, I'm your host, Mr. U. In studio with us, mentor, speaker, pioneer, and the author of Is Your Way in Your Way. Cassandra Crawley-Mayo is in the house. How are you today?
I am doing great, Mr. U. Thanks for having me.
The pleasure's mine. We had a great pre-interview chat, and I'm excited for our listeners to hear more from you. Customarily, I always ask our guests that's coming in, share about your childhood and your upbringing as briefly or as much as you want. Let us know how you got from there to where you are right now. Go ahead and share.
Okay. Well, I grew up as an only child.
Oh, okay.
And I actually grew up during I want to say sort of the end of the civil rights movement. And I actually grew up in a home of what I would call faith. My grandfather was a minister, and he was the type of grandfather, if we did not go to church, he would come by to see why didn't we go to church. So that was just really ingrained in me. And the reason I wanted to share that I was the only child, because I always wanted an older brother. And the reason for that is I wanted them to do the yard work. And I wanted to meet their friends because my dad really gave me what I would call the work ethic. He had me outside. He was mowing the lawn. I was sweeping. I was picking up leaves. And I actually thought that's something that a girl shouldn't be doing. So that's one of the main reasons why I wanted an older brother.
I like
Uh,
that.
Also, I think it's important is I came from a mother and father background. They were both parents were in the home. And I would say my parents were strict to me.
Hmm.
uh, that and I say that because I said, you know what? When I go to college, or if I go to college, I'm not coming back. I want to be on my own. And then what happened was during that time, my mom was asked to go to a faraway school. They were in the process of integrating, and she was the only teacher at this time in the area that we lived that she was sent to a faraway school.
Hmm.
And at that time, I was voluntold that I was going with her. So we
Oh,
both were
nice.
the only African American people in the school, with exception of the janitor and the cooks. So with that, I'm like, okay. So when it was time for me to go to college, I wanted to go to an HBCU.
Hmm. I love the story. That creates two additional questions for me that I want to ask you. So it's kind of a two-part question. One, you mentioned really briefly about this, what you felt was the strictness of your household.
Mhm.
One, do you feel like that was part because of the movement that your family was living through in regards to the civil rights movement? And my second question is kind of just share how you felt, because I know we read books and we see documentaries on TV, but we got a live person who lived in a lot of this, and in many ways was the first to do many different things. How did you feel to live in that? Was it fearful? Was it tension? Kind of just answer both of those questions for me, if you don't mind doing that.
Sure. When I reflect on my childhood and you ask the question, were they strict because of the civil rights movement? They were strict because they loved me. They wanted the best for me. They were parents that protected me. For example, if I wanted to go somewhere, they wanted to know who, with whom, and what do their parents do.
Okay.
And if I would go to a party, it wouldn't be long before 11 o'clock. My mom would walk in the party in the front door, and my friends would say, they would laugh and they said, guess who's at the front door? And I was like, oh my gosh. So they were very protective, but I certainly appreciate it. Now I get it. And in regards to the civil rights, I was very naive.
Mm.
I didn't quite get why my mom had to go far away to an all-white school. Now I got the voluntold piece because she says you are not going to be home alone. When you leave school, no, you're going with me. And then throughout that, I sort of started understanding because they were calling me names. The boys called me names. It wasn't the girls so much. and they would call me names, and I felt okay because my mom was with me. So I'm like, so they can't do anything with me because my mom's right down the hall.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You are a pioneer in many different areas. I mean, you have definitely have years of experience under your belt, speaking, mentoring, writing books, and leading professional people. You were the former vice president of a global Fortune 500 company.
That's correct. Mhm.
I want to hear some of that story because I think from what I understand from what you shared with me, you were a trailblazer in that situation. Can you share that with us today?
Sure. Um, this is a story that's will stick with me for a lifetime. I wanted to share about the civil rights movement because that was the time when diversity was king. It wasn't
Mm.
titled diversity and inclusion, it was diversity. And when I would interview and would get the jobs, individuals would say, wow, she got this job because she was Black, not because she
Mm.
was qualified. And I received a call from a human resources manager. I used to work, I was actually the first African American female general manager for Courtyard Marriott's when they first started.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And I received a call one night about 9 p.m. And I was like, this is weird. So I answered the phone, kind of weird, not professional. And he said,
HR at 9 o'clock at night. That
well,
doesn't sound good.
I know.
That
You're,
doesn't
you're,
sound good at all.
you're right. But listen to this. Asked me, he offered me this job. And I thought for a minute and I was like, okay. Well, let's talk about salary, what comes with it, blah, blah, blah. And when I said okay, he immediately said, thank goodness I met my quota. And I thought about that. And mind you, I was still naive. I was like, that was interesting. And a good thing that I was naive because I made the decision that I was going to run that hotel like it was my hotel. Now, if I would have let all of that quota stuff get in my head, I'm not quite sure how I would have responded. And what I did do is I performed extremely well. I was also placed at near Marriott headquarters because that's where all the people came to stay. And I was somewhat what they call the token, but within my heart, I was qualified to do what I had to do. So that's one of my experience, and I have so many.
Oh, yeah, I was trying to see if I can extract as much as I can within this short time that we have together. When you're in, and this is something that this is not really about the civil rights movement. This is something that I'm sure you can add some context to, but I've seen it as being an African American manager in a Fortune 500 or a corporate workspace. And this is something that maybe people don't understand that's listening that are not Black and brown. So I want you to just kind of understand where I'm going with this.
Okay.
What's the challenges that you saw in promoting people who look like you? The reason why I'm asking that is because a lot of time people who may not be qualified or may not have the work ethic may feel as though it's something that's old. So when you are in a position where you can promote somebody who looks like you, certain folks may think, you know what, she should do that because we're alike. But it doesn't mean that's not how a manager should work in any corporation. You should hire on merit and of course skill set, etc., character, integrity, those kind of things. So what kind of challenges did you see, if anything, in promoting people who look like you in a time where you had your new position? Does that make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense. As I matured, I recognized that many of me was not hired.
Yeah.
And then, and then all of a sudden they would sprinkle in a little bit. And because I had a voice at the table, even though I was cautious on what and how I said things, I would ask the questions. Why are there not other African American females? Now they did have a male, but why aren't there other African American females in this role? And they would look at me and say, Oh, we've been interviewing, but we've just not found an individual that's qualified. I'm like, is that so? How interesting is that?
It
And
is.
what happened was Mr. Marriott actually started the diversity program because he was very interested in race, ethic, all of that. And once he started that,
Wow.
then people started moving in. And then when people were hired that looked like me, that's where I became the mentor. I was the trailblazer. It was kind of like they had to see that somebody that looked like me was qualified. And not only that, I had the numbers, I was a troubleshooter. So if there was a problem, I could handle it. So I was like the face for that organization initially.
Okay. Okay.
So based on that, the door was open as a result of that.
No, that's amazing. I didn't know that story. That's content. That's history right there talking. I appreciate
Mhm.
this. Now, as a in some ways, I've been able to say that I pioneered some things that are new, and that's fine. Not on the level of what you did at all. I'm not even trying to make a comparison there. And what I
Sure.
want to do ask you is about, do you, just being transparent, do you feel like you're still trying to prove that you're qualified to do certain things, and you have some things you want to do that's our mission in life, with your partnership with those 25 organizations and 100 plus professional women, things you want to partner with and create, and mountains you want to conquer? Do you still feel deep down somewhere that you're still trying to prove that you're qualified to do these things? Or you trying to prove your value, or do you have a different level of confidence because of what you've been through?
Um, and the different capacities that I was in and different organizations, I began to start working harder. I started getting burnt out and I realized I was
Mm.
trying to prove that I was capable. And all of that became in my DNA because in the corporate world, you don't work 8 hours. I don't know if I've ever worked 8 hours. It's 10 hours, 12 hours a day. And that was the expectation. The
Yeah.
expectation is you wear a dark suit, white shirt, and I'm like, wow, I can't even wear my color stuff because I'm a color girl, I like colors. And because of that, it I got to a place where, as I indicated, I was tired because I was going, and then it just came to be a part of me. And it also came from my background being work ethic. You got to work hard, So now that I am out of that corporate world, I feel like, the other day somebody said to me, I asked them how they were doing. And this woman, it was an Indian woman who said to me, I feel like I'm in heaven. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is
Okay.
unbelievable. Why is that? She said, because I've been through hell. So now I'm at a place where I feel real good. Look at the world, look at the people, and then, just hearing that, I'm kind of like that too. I wouldn't say I feel like I'm in heaven, but I'm in a good place. So I'm not in a position that I have to prove that I am qualified to do what I'm currently doing.
I love that. Is there anybody you attribute your success to?
It is. I contribute a lot to God. I'm a woman of faith, and if it were not for Him, I'm not quite sure where I'd be, particularly because of how people responded to me when they found out as a vice president that I was an African American, who they thought I was a secretary.
Wow. Wow. Who's your biggest inspiration?
Uh, my largest inspiration were a number of people.
Okay.
I was a person to always look at things about empowerment, growth. Uh, like Zig Ziglar used to excite
Okay.
me. He
Love it.
excited me to a point that I went to Texas to go to one of his classes. So there were individuals like that even Tony Robbins, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. Even Miles Monroe, who was a great minister out
He
of the
was
Bahamas.
he was a mentor for a while.
Yes, yes. So it was people like that that inspired me.
I love this. I love this. Okay. So you tell me what kind of what set in motion your book is your way and your way. Why did you decide to write that book? I'm sure I heard part of the story, but our listeners need to hear this. Please share it.
Well, I'm going to also tell your listeners they have to get the book because I cannot say all that happened that
Of course.
triggered this book.
Yeah.
But what I will say, there's a chapter in the book that says uh, an out of body experience, and I literally had an out of body experience because I always wanted to write a book. It's just like your listeners. They probably always wanted to have their own business, write a book, have a TV show, have whatever. And they've not done it, and they sit there and they have all these barriers and everything. Like, well, nobody's going to listen to me. Self-doubt, sabotage, procrastinate. And that's what I did for many years about this book. So there
Mm.
was something that happened at the airport where my out of body experience came to me. And this is what somebody that I said it was God who said this said, if you get out of your own way, you cannot imagine what I would do through you. And I sat
Yeah.
down and I was like, what? And that
I fell down.
yeah, like what? Because I did something very unusual at an airport because I traveled. I traveled 70, 80, 90% of the time. And it just got real crazy. It was chaotic at the airport. And what I did was I took over. So that's what triggered me to use that title. Is your way in your way?
I love that. Can you share some examples of what that looks like? I honestly, it's to you because you lived this and you understood it enough to write a book about it. I feel like people don't really get what it means to get in your own way. The self-doubt thing, the self-esteem issues, those that's the low-hanging fruit. But can you share some examples of what you think getting in your way looks like?
hmm Um, oh, of course. One is comparison. We compare ourselves. Social media is really interesting because think about it. Individuals do not put the bad stuff on social media. They look beautiful, they're doing this, they're doing that, but I always say you never know what's going on the inside. It's no different than you driving in a neighborhood and you see gated communities and you see like, oh, this is great. People driving these cars, and I always say you have no clue what they are going through. Period. So you want to be who God has created you to be. Another thing could be in your way is life. Life interruptions. That's actually my next book. It could be one could be you have a death in the family, and it's so much chaos about who gets what that I know families today that don't get along because they're so focused on this should have been me, that should have been mine, all of that stuff, and trying to think about what is really important today. What's important? You can't take it with you, whatever you get, you know. Also, letting a good example is the media today.
Hmm.
I know people who are so fixated on what's happening. And I agree that we need to be informed. But I always say be careful what you listen to, what you look at, and who you're around. That is so critical because it can suck you in so much. You look up and it's time to go to bed. Or you get up and it's time to go to work. Then you come back home and do the same thing, So, it's just a number of things. Procrastination. Sometimes I'll sit here and I'm working and I'm like, I wish somebody call me and then when the phone rings, I answer the phone because I don't feel like doing what I was doing. So that's being in my way because you know what it is that you need to be doing. But you have all of this stuff in your way that's preventing you from doing it. Self-sabotage. I'm not good enough. Who says you're not good enough? Things of that nature.
I love that. One of the things that I don't get a chance to talk about much is the challenges of somebody who wrote their first book. Folks who have written 2 and 3, and I think some folks, not everybody, but some just get kind of numb. Like, hey, I wrote my 9th book, whoop-de-doo. You know what I'm saying? But what are the challenges you feel in being an author for the first time?
I didn't know what I didn't know. And I wanted to I did a lot of research, and I wanted to get an agent, but you had to do a lot of that. And it was more about when you are ready to do what it is that's what's pulling you, the teacher will appear. And I say that because when I made the decision that I was going to write this book, I got a phone call, and someone told me they had a friend who had an editor and they just published their book. And I'm like, oh, really? So I started there where I had an editor and she helped me, and she was a tremendous help. Then the part about who's going to publish, she didn't do the publishing. So it was just kind of difficult to trust people,
Yeah.
especially when it costs. And that was one of my dilemmas. And I'm a stickler, I'm a perfectionist recovering. And I want things like this, like this, like this. And we were just going back and forth of how I wanted things written. I wanted a certain cover, and then they published another cover. So there were just certain things like that. And then after that, you start getting phone calls and emails from people everywhere that want to turn it into a movie, that want you to be in a book fair. So you just have to be careful and also connect with somebody who has written one that you trust, that you can get some great advice from, because you can self-publish your own book.
I love that. Is there anything in your life right now that you'd like to change if you could? What would that be?
I have this another thing that I'm looking to do is do a TEDx talk.
Awesome.
And I'm like, okay, what am I going to say? So here I go again, getting in my way. And when I decided that I wanted to do that, I interviewed somebody on my podcast. And she was like, if you need training, whenever you're ready, call me. You don't have to pay me.
Wow, that's
I
awesome.
will walk you through the whole thing. So that's probably my thing right now, is actually executing that and preparing myself for that. Although I did apply, but I didn't hear back. But I know one day I will, and I know one day I will do a TED Talk.
I'm excited. I can't wait to hear it. I'll be right there. I've got a few more questions left. It's been a fantastic conversation so far. I really appreciate this. You mentioned something that I just, I think because I'm a big relationship guy, I'm a feeler as well. So I think those two things are hand in hand. But you talked about having a personal board of directors in your life and why that's important. I need you to break that thing down for me. So I need to understand. I can't walk away and not understand what that means. Personal board of directors. I know what it means in the corporate world because I've seen it. But
Exactly.
what does it mean here? What's a personal board of directors, Cassandra?
You have individuals in your circle of influence that has your best interest at heart. For
Okay.
example, on my board, I have a finance person. Okay. On my board, I have a friend that helps me keep it real. All right. I also have a spiritual friend. Like if I'm going through something, I know who to call because I know she is going to be upfront with me. I also have on my board an accountability partner. We meet once a week, every Wednesday at 3 o'clock, and we set our goals for the entire year. And we follow up with each other because we're holding each other accountable. And if it were not for her, I don't know whether I probably would have completed the book, but I didn't want to get on the phone call the following week and say, I didn't do another chapter, as an example. I also have someone on my board who is an attorney.
Okay.
Yeah. And I also have someone on my board who's a confidant. I can tell her anything, and I know my secret is safe with her until she read my book. And she said, "Girl, you put everything in that book." I said, "No, I didn't." I said, "Girl, I couldn't put everything in there." She said, "You got some things you never told me." I said, "Yeah."
Okay.
Yeah, because she knows me well.
How did you figure out that this was? I mean, I love the idea. I intend to implement it. Well, I've already kind of started, but tell me why you where did this come from? Where did you get the revelation to do this?
Um, it just came from, we have friends, we have acquaintances. I don't have very many close friends, but I realize the work that I do, the life that I'm living, I can't do anything alone. And we need to collaborate with someone that we that has our best interest at heart. So everybody in my circle plays a role. And I'm like, okay, I need to have it's yeah, I need to have people in my circle. It's like
Okay.
kind of the queen on the chessboard. Yeah, I need somebody in my circle.
No, I love this. I love this. All right, so this is our last question. Then after this, I'm going to have you speak to the people who are pioneering something new in life that are watching and listening to the show, and then let everybody know where they can find your work, where they can find you. But last question of the show is our CMV question. We talked about it a little bit. Every guest that comes in has to answer it. It's career, mission, and vocation question. It's not to diminish your incredible work and your incredible life and experience. We're not doing that, but temporarily and theoretically, I'm going to erase everything that you've done from a career standpoint, mission work, vocation that you've been in. We're erasing it all. What do you think Cassandra is most likely doing today that she hasn't done before? She's never touched it. What do you think you're doing today?
Hmm. My mission. Talk about my mission a little bit. Um, Empowering purpose-driven women to start living their best life on their terms. I say that because I do not want us to leave this earth with regrets, because a lot of people do. And that's so I'm looking for a generation. I'm looking, my legacy is to transform a generation, do a movement, a women's movement about is your way in your way.
Okay. Is there any chance this is going to start happening? I know you want to do it. How's this perspective be looking?
It's looking pretty good because I have a signature that's titled The Rise Journey, and I have a program called Rise Beyond Limits. And the rise is to recognize what's holding you back. The I is to interrupt what's holding you back. The S is to surrender. The E is to embrace. And B is to build. And the L is to launch your business or launch what it is that you were created to do. And I have the methodology and the tools to make that happen.
And in know I'm so excited to have met you. You made our show better today. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate the time and the transparency and the wealth of experience. It's been a blessing to us. Uh, Take this last couple of minutes to kind of just let everybody know where they can find your work and also speak to those people who are maybe perhaps pioneers of some sort. They're creating or pondering, create something new and starting something that's there's no trail. They got to create their own path in this. So you can do it whatever order you want to do it in, but let folks know where they can find you and kind of speak some encouragement to those people who are pioneering something new. Go ahead.
Sure. Um, Check out my website, CassandraCrawley.com. I'm all on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all of those. Also, you can DM me at Mayo, Mayo, at CassandraCrawley.com. And let's have what I would call a complimentary discovery call. and see whether you and I can work together for you to start or stop looking good on the outside, but on the inside, you're not in a good place. So, in other words, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Give me a call, send me an email. I'm
Oh my
looking forward.
goodness. I love it. Thank you, so. Thank you. This was fantastic. For those that are watching and listening to this episode with Cassandra and myself, we are live right now. So you can find us on all of the social media platforms. The ones that are not there, we'll be there within the next 30 minutes or less. If you're listening to our podcast and you're not actually able to see us, we do have a big, wide audio only audience. And this episode will be available within the hour. So thank you again for being here, and Cassandra, and sharing your wealth of insight and your thoughts and feelings and concerns. It's been a fantastic opportunity to be here with you. Thanks again for doing this.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Pleasure's all mine. Cassandra, Mr. You, we're out of here. Have a fantastic day. Thanks again for watching and for listening.